left turn here. As we make the turn, look to your left, you'll get a great shot looking straight on at Grant's tomb. Looking directly on at the tomb here to our left. For anybody that wants the picture.
Oh, wow.
Ulysses Grant was considered one of the great heroes of the American Civil War, at least from the North point of view. He was a highly revered figure by, well, most of the American people at the time. I wouldn't say all of them. Ulysses Grant spent the last years of his life here, living here in New York. He came to live here after leaving the presidency. And if you wonder what he looked like, well, if you have to have a $50 bill in your pocket, U.S. currency, his face is on it, or at least I think it's still there. I haven't seen one of those bills in a while, but I assume he's still on the $50 bill. He has a beard, yes. Okay. We're now turning on to 122nd Street. We're going to go down the hill and up the hill and down the hill. And that's what we're going to do. Coming up on the next block on the left side, we're about to pass the Manhattan School of Music. As we pass the school here on the left, you'll notice its name has been etched right into the front of the building. But notice too how the Manhattan portion of its name seems to be newly etched. That's because it used to read Juilliard School of Music. This is the original location of Juilliard, before that school moved down to Lincoln Center in 1969. Right here. So we're going to cross Broadway here, just in front of us, in a moment, and there on the far left corner is the Jewish Theological Seminary. What you see here to the left, these are subway tracks. That's a number 1 train up there stopped above the 25th Street station there. They only bring the tracks above ground here for 12 blocks. That's it. 12 blocks, then they go underground again. Only for these 12 blocks. That's it. Across this hill here, eventually we'll be ending up at 125th Street, which is the main commercial thoroughfare through Harlem. Harlem was settled in the mid-1600s by Dutch settlers who came up from New Amsterdam, which was then located about 10 miles south of here, at the very tip of the island. They named it New Harlem after a city in the Netherlands. It was a sleepy little village for many years, mostly farms, a few estates. Some wealthy merchants from New Amsterdam built country homes up here in those days. In the 1700s, there were 2 major stagecoach lines that ran the length of Manhattan, each having stops on 125th Street. And then in 1832, they built a railroad. It was called the New York-Harlem Railroad, and that began bringing commerce, as well as the population, up into this area. Every succeeding wave of immigrant that first arrived in this country and first lived on the Lower East Side eventually passed through this neighborhood. Harlem was lived in by the Irish, by Germans, by Italians, and by the late 1800s, Harlem had become predominantly a Jewish community. There are many churches in Harlem that were formerly synagogues. It was not until the beginning of the 20th century that the black community began moving here from other parts of the city as well as other parts of this country, many coming up from the rural south. By the 1920s, Harlem had become the black capital of America.